Now, as you've just heard, scientists are concerned that this highly contagious new COVID-19 strain devastating Peru might be immune to vaccinations. The C37 strain was identified in Peru in December 2020. To discuss the new strain, we are joined via Zoom by Dr. Richard Lessells, an infectious diseases specialist. Dr. Lessells, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Now, we do know that the WHO has classified the Lambda variant as a variant of interest. Talk to us about what we actually know about this Lambda variant and if indeed it has been detected in the continent.
Yeah, so thanks, Unati, and thanks to the viewers. So when you say it's a variant of interest, essentially what that means is that it's kind of on the watch list. We've seen it emerge, and we're concerned a little bit about the kind of constellation of mutations in this variant, but we don't fully understand yet what that means for how this variant behaves, for the properties of the variant, whether it is more transmissible, i.e. whether it spreads more efficiently from person to person, or whether it might be able to evade parts of the immune response from the vaccines. But I think it's important to say that none of the variants that we've detected anywhere in the world completely escape the vaccines. So the beta variant that we had here, now the Delta variant that's dominant here, none of these variants completely escape the vaccines. So if you look at what the vaccines are designed to do, which is prevent severe illness, they're holding up very well against all these different variants that are emerging.
Now, this is obviously very concerning news for us in South Africa. As you know, our vaccination program has been criticized just because it's purely just too slow. At the moment, I think we're vaccinating over 100,000 people per day, and the target by government has been well over about 300,000 per day. What does this mean if this variant is in the continent and it somehow makes its way into South Africa?
Yeah, we're not actually completely sure that it is in the continent. So I think I heard mentioned that it may have been detected in Zimbabwe, but we're actually investigating that because we think the data there may not be completely accurate. So we're trying to investigate that and find out. Again, I think that we want to urge that while there's a lot of panic about these variants and a lot of concern as they pop up in different parts of the world, there's really no evidence that they majorly impact on the main function of the vaccines, which is preventing severe disease. And as you say, what's absolutely critical at this stage is that we accelerate the vaccination effort, that we really try and get up beyond what we're managing at the moment. I think yesterday there are signs of increasing, that it was over 150,000 yesterday, but we really need to get it, as you say, to 250,000 or 300,000 as the president outlined a couple of weeks ago. So that's critical, and these variants don't really affect that push to get the vaccines into people's arms.
And now, Dr. Lessells, if I heard you correctly, you did say that at the moment scientists aren't really aware of any variant, that is totally immune to vaccinations. At the moment in South Africa, we are, battling those two variants, the beta and the delta. The latter being the one that is basically blamed for us being at this level that we're at now in terms of the third wave. Just talk to me about the variants that are currently, at our disposal in various countries that you know of, that scientists have identified, and the possibilities of any of those coming into this country.
Well, as you say, the one that's become dominant now in this third wave is the Delta variant. And what's happening in South Africa with the Delta variant becoming dominant is mirroring what's happening in most of the rest of the world. And actually, South America is one of the few places where that's not happening, and where they're seeing this Lambda variant and others still kind of predominating in their epidemics. But most of the rest of the world is seeing this Delta variant take over. And we have very good data now from the United Kingdom and elsewhere that the vaccines hold up very well against this variant, and that they have very high levels of protection against severe disease with the Delta variant. And so it's absolutely critical that people really push and people go for their vaccination as soon as they become eligible, so that we can get as many people protected as possible and really start to get the pressure off the health system.
Now, depending on which scientist you speak to, or health professional that you speak to, we know in South Africa we have those 3 vaccinations, with the latest one still, just recently been approved, and it's not yet out in circulation, being the Sinovac vaccine. Why is it important that countries have a number of vaccines at their disposal? Will that in any way mean that the countries themselves fast track that process? Unpack for us what the significance of that means.
I mean, the reality is, in a perfect world, you wouldn't need to have a kind of diverse portfolio of vaccines. You could just have one vaccine, but that would be in a situation where you knew that you had a good regular supply of that vaccine and that there were not going to be any problems. What we've seen, however, is that unfortunately there are kind of stumbling blocks along the way, and we saw it with the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, that there were the problems with the manufacturing in the United States, and that had a knock-on effect on the supply that was coming to South Africa. And so if we'd been reliant on just that vaccine, we would have had no vaccines to give at that time. So having at least 2 different vaccines, or potentially more than 2, just gives you a bit of space to kind of cope with these problems that come up along the way. But there are now a number of vaccines that have been approved. As you said, there's now this extra one, the Sinovac, just approved under certain conditions in South Africa, and it remains to be seen what the place of that is in our vaccination program.
All right, Doctor, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Really appreciate that analysis. That was Dr. Richard Lessells, an infectious diseases specialist.